Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan. I'm your host, joined this week actually by my blue collar badass. So, and we don't post the videos, but this week I'm in sunny Orlando, Florida, which is pretty awesome as opposed to my inch of snow. But Matt, how's it going there in Detroit or Southeast Michigan?
I appreciate you rubbing that shit in that you're in sunny Florida. That's pretty awesome, Dylan. Thank you. It's good
Hey,
here,
you
man.
were last week, man.
Yeah, I know. It's good. I'm just glad we're back on the damn mics. It's been a hot minute since we've been able to talk to each other, let alone do an interview. So I'm pumped for today.
I know, man. I got too many things going, too many projects to work on, too many deals to close to do this to always get on the this and have these conversations with guys like Jesse who are kicking ass and taking names. So I'm excited to be back on the mics as well and talk to our fellow construction uh, business owners and entrepreneurs. So without kind of further ado, just we like getting into it, as you guys know. Jesse is the co-owner of Prime Pools and Landscaping, custom pool builder based out of Ontario, Canada, which we'll get into how like the 12 days a year you guys can use a pool up there. But starting his career in residential pool service over a decade ago, Jesse quickly developed a passion for swimming pools. I mean, who doesn't? I almost did this by the pool today, and the industry as a whole. So he currently serves on the education committee of the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance. Sure, there's a lot more hot tubs in Canada than pools, but hey, we'll find out. It is also the co-founder of Pool Xenia, which hopefully you'll correct me, Jesse, on that one if that's wrong. Pool service and maintenance company that is recently franchised with 12 active franchise locations in Canada and is looking to expand into good old America this year in 2023. So without further ado, Jesse, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you guys having me on today. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. It's good to have you. Like I said, we haven't done an interview show in a hot minute here. We've been pretty busy, so you're the first one that's going to air. So congrats for winning the race.
Sounds like I've got some big shoes to fill. So looking forward to it, guys.
Right on, man. Well, hey, I'm going to jump right in. How'd you get your start in the pool business? Because like Dylan mentioned, and you're in Ontario, you're a little bit northeast of me here in Detroit area, but similar climates. And I mean, I have a pool, truth be told, and I love it for the 3 months a year I can rock and roll with it.
That's it.
But it's got to be a tough one. So how'd you get your start? And just tell us your story a little bit.
Yeah, so kind of accidentally. I was in college, finished college, didn't graduate, but finished, and needed a job. A friend I played baseball with was working for a guy not in the pool industry, just doing like siding, soffit fascia, eaves trough, roofing, and I jumped on that crew, started working there. He's a mentor of mine and still a good friend, my boss. But I got kind of bored. It ended up just being him and I, and the friend that I played baseball with moved on to other things, and I worked there for a couple of years, and I just needed more interaction with people. I love the work. I love being outside. My boss was a good dude, but I got a little, I guess, bored. And I was, again, playing baseball, softball with another buddy of mine. He said, hey, we're hiring service guys. He worked for a local pool company. He's like, do you want to come work with us? I said, yeah, let's do it. All right. So did the interview, took the job, $16 an hour, super rich, making lots of money, and just started. I think that was in the fall. I started closing pools and just doing general maintenance and that. And for whatever reason, I fell in love with it and took off from there. So worked there for a few years, got headhunted by another local company, went and worked for them, where I met my now current partner. We worked together side by side for another company for a few years, and just we're doing side work, a lot of stuff at night and on the weekends, to the point where we had people asking us to actively build projects for them. And it got to a point where we just couldn't do both. We both went to our employer at the beginning of the pool season and said, hey, listen, we don't want to screw you over. We want to be able to do the work with you, but we can't dedicate full time. And it was either they kind of laid it out, you're either with us or you're against us. And you back into a corner, you don't have much of a choice. And we just said, fuck it, we're out of here. And it was amicable. There was no bad split or anything like that. Actually, the owner of that company, his wife and my wife are best friends. And so we're still close to this day, but we weren't on great terms for a little while. We started our own company, my partner and I, and we had all this work lined up, whole bunch of stuff. And like almost like to the minute where I paid for, our business number and license and stuff like that, and we were officially on our own, all that work fell through. And we had nothing. But we have a good network of people, and as soon as the snow starts to melt, people need pool work done, and we just quickly started picking up work. Our first job came through my uncle. It was his buddy. It was like $170,000 project, which we kind of fell ass backwards into, and that was the start. And that was in 2017, and we've just been on a kind of pretty good growth trajectory ever since. It's been a pretty wild ride so far.
That's awesome, man.
I mean,
go ahead, Dylan.
I'm just going to say that sounds about right for, entrepreneurship and when you think and just construction in general, you think you got shit outlined and then it's like, nope. What are we doing now?
Yep. Pretty much every single day you get kicked in the nuts, and still to this day, that was the Coles Notes version of all that. There was a lot of getting kicked in the nuts all the way along, and still is. But you know what? I wouldn't have done it any differently.
I can tell you what, brother, I've been doing this for a long time, like 25 years or so, and you still get kicked in the nuts damn near every day in this industry.
Something to look forward to, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
It just becomes steel after a while,
That's right.
Amazing.
So how many guys you got? Is it just you and your partner, or you got some employees, or how do you tackle these projects? Some of your stuff looks really cool, by the way. I've been on your website today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. We obviously we're a fairly seasonal business. We run a skeleton crew over the winter. We've got a few guys that want to get laid off, so they work as hard as they can for about 9 months, push it into about 10 months. We take about 2 months off, and then they want a little bit of a break, so we let them have it, lay them off for the winter. We've got our kind of main crew of five guys really that will stay, keep employed on for the whole winter. Whether we're just finishing up those projects or doing little stuff if we can, we'll give them 3 or 4 weeks off paid throughout the Christmas stuff like that. And then when the season starts, we bring in students. Usually we'll get up to 12 to 15 guys total throughout the summer. And then our service company is completely separate. So about 15 of us when we're in full swing.
That's awesome, man. Are you guys having trouble up there, up in the snowy north, finding labor, finding people that are worth a shit to come work for you?
So lots of people are, right? Canada is no different than the US with labor markets, fairly similar, I would say, based on my limited knowledge. I would say yes. When we first started, we had a lot of trouble, right? Guys don't show up. Guys just quit on a whim. All the same stuff that plagues the industry and has plagued it for years. I will say the last few years, we've been absolutely blessed, have not had a problem hiring anybody. We have a full crew. We're always able to hire and retain guys. I think that started when we started kind of setting our standards and not accepting anything less than what we wanted out of our crew. The owners, myself and my partner, Brad, have to live that standard as well. But we stopped allowing people coming in late. We stopped allowing no-shows. We have a set of core values that we hire and fire and live by. And if everyone in the company can't emulate those and live by them, then they don't work with us. Now, the other side of that is we treat our guys and girls very well, in my opinion, and based on what they tell us. We're like a tight-knit family. It's one of our core values, so we got to live it. But we do not have a problem getting labor. We pay well. It's not anything outrageous. Like it's industry standard, maybe a little bit higher, but when we need to hire, we bring guys in, and it seems after you stop accepting those low standards, the people that we now attract already have those standards, and we don't really have to work through too many guys. Our retention rate's pretty high.
And man, that's of all the guys that we have on the show, that are doing that, right? Having people that live the values, exude the values. retention is not a problem, right? Like, and if people do leave, it's one of two things, right? One, they just weren't a good fit, right? Something got missed in the hiring process, something like, you know, and again, it happens, right? It happens to everybody. You miss something. The other thing is that that guy is so good, they want to go out on their own and, you know, do their own thing and have their own shot, right? And that's really how it should be. Is, you know, you have you weed out the chaff, and then you give those high performers the ability to go to that next level, right? I was one of them. Matt was one of them. You were one of them, right? Like, you wanted to go and do your own thing, and it's two for you guys out there, whether you're wanting to do your own thing or you're a manager, owner, whatever, is to understand that people like have a time and a place in your company, and while they're there, you know, they're going to do their best job, and when, you know, they decide to leave or things happen, you know, family, you know, you decide to start a family or move, whatever it might be, that, you know, that's okay too, right? That they did, so long as they did you well while they were there, you know, it's usually nothing personal against the company, you know, again, so long as you're living the values and everything else. And I think as someone who's been burned and moving on, you know, or not necessarily burned, but it wasn't, you know, nice on the way out, for an opportunity like becoming a director at 25, like that, you know, somebody was going to have to retire or die before I got a slot, you know, and that was 10, 15 years out. Like, you don't pass on those opportunities. So, you know, again, I think you're doing the right thing, Jesse, and those are the things that show is in retention.
I appreciate that, man. You know, it doesn't always feel like it, right? And you're right. Some things do slip through the cracks. By no means are we even close to perfect. But you know what? I feel the same way. One thing I do share with my guys as well is, you know, we might be a stepping stone for you. Certainly for our summer students, stuff like that. It's pretty clear. You know, we try to give them a good experience while they're here. Also beat the shit out of them while they're here too. Really put them to work. But you know what? We have good times with them. But with my guys, I just share with them too. It's like, hey, listen, we might be a stepping stone for you. I don't know what your future plans are. And one thing I do now is goal set with them and kind of try and learn what they're looking for to best help them get there, whether it's being with us long term or being with us until you find the next level. But I tell them, and I mean, you guys know this, being in the construction industry, communication is not always the best with men. Tend to not really express our feelings very well. One of our core values is communication. So, you know, I always try and have my guys sharing with it how they're feeling, how they're doing, what they want out of life, you know, what's the next step for them, because I'd rather be in your corner and help you get there. I'd rather, you know, if you want to go start your own company, even if it's a pool company and you're going to directly compete with me, like I'll help you. I'll help you start it. I'll help train you. I'll help you not make all the same mistakes that cost me probably now into the 7 figures that we've done over the last, coming into our 7th season. You know, I'll help you avoid all those. You'll still make your own, but keep me in your corner. I don't look at you as competition. I take it as a compliment. If you're going to go out there and kick ass as a company, even if you're a direct competitor, like that means I must be doing something right. And, you know, that's a feather in our cap too. Now, whether that always happens, you know, it certainly doesn't, but I give that kind of space for my guys to grow. And I think that, you know, it helps them share a little bit more and not keep everything so close to the chest and bottled up all the time, knowing that, you know, no matter what goes on, we're there to support you.
And that's huge, dude, because you've built a culture now where people are not afraid to grow, right? And they're able to come in, you base it on your core values, you got them on your website, you live it, you breathe it, you walk the walk, you talk the talk, and that's what people want and they need. And you nailed it by saying like you'd help an employee start his own company. I don't know if you've actually done that yet, but if you haven't, it'll happen eventually. Either they'll start their own company or you'll help them get a new job because they just phase out of you. Maybe they grow out of the values, they grow out of the system. But the coolest fucking thing that I've ever had happen is we had to let a guy go 3 or 4 years ago. You know, he worked with us for a couple of years and he was a great guy, you know, but he was just missing a couple things and he just didn't want to be there anymore. So we let him go. It was amicable. We shook hands, you know, no hard feelings. I talked to the dude like monthly still, and he's doing great. I helped him get a job. We gave him, you know, great references and all that good shit. And to have that happen, to have that dude call back and like wish me Merry Christmas and stuff like that, it's awesome. As a leader of a company, it's like, okay, you're doing something right now, right? Because it's not always about the people that you keep your arms around and, you know, struggle to keep them in the house. Once they leave that house, if they're still cool with you, that also, I mean, it's also a marketing thing too, right? Because that means they're also talking good about you on the street and not talking shit. So good job to you, man. It's culture based and it's huge.
You know what, Matt? That sounds exactly like a situation my partner and I had this year, and so I'm well aware of not keeping somebody on the team. And when we had our split, we actually had a beer afterwards, hugged it out, gave him a couple of employment options, kind of made those pre-calls to kind of line the road with him for him, and you know we are not on bad terms whatsoever. Yeah, and that conversation that was coming up was some of the most. He was one of my legacy guys. He'd been with us almost since the beginning. Love him to death, still to this day. We're not on bad terms by any means, but to have that conversation that we weren't going to work together anymore was like probably one of the most stressful times in my life. That week leading up to it, and then after, it was like this load off your chest, right? Like it felt so good, and you know, I think we're both better off now for it.
Absolutely. And he probably had that same load off of his chest, right? Because people recognize when they're in the wrong spot. They may not know it right away, but if it just isn't the right fit, it's not the right person for the seat, they'll figure it out by themselves. But most people are too afraid to leave, right? They're too afraid to do that. So it takes you in a leadership role to kind of push them over that proverbial edge, you know. But I would guarantee that this guy or this woman, whoever that you're talking about, they felt that same load off their shoulders that day too. And that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, they definitely did. And, you know, to take that back to 2017, 2018, that's not how we used to do business, right? The turmoil of like, this guy gets paid on Wednesday afternoon and never shows up on Thursday, or is late every other day. And you just put up with it because you need that person, right? You have to keep getting the work done. You have so much, and you know, you're always stressed out, disappointed. You're disappointing clients, instead of just calling all your clients and just saying, hey, I know this sucks, but here's where we're at. We're shorthanded. We're going to be a little late on this project, and working it out from there. And just that, be able to have those conversations now. I couldn't have those 5 years ago. It was just, yeah, I would just let it fester for months and months. That was way more stressful. I'll tell you that. Way more stressful.
It's the evolution of the nut kicking in construction, right? Like it starts off as one thing, right? When you're new and green, like it's one set of stressors. There's always something, but at least, you know, you're at a point now, it sounds like, where you can have fun with it, you know, and you still get stressed out. There's still shit that comes up across the board, I'm sure. But once you get past some of those early stage things, that's when, at least for me, it started to get really fun.
Yeah. You know what? You know what? It is starting to get pretty fun. You know, the mistakes and the stress now is, yeah, it shifts. It's different. You work through it a lot faster. I feel like us as contractors, I've talked to tons of contractors. A lot of my friends are all contractors, obviously. And I feel like that evolution is pretty similar for everybody in whatever trade you're in, of like, you start your own company. Here's all the bullshit, all the turmoil. Some people just keep going for decades, right? And they just put up with it. And then you see the guys that, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do that anymore. And then 6-7 years, you look back and you go, I can't even believe that used to stress me out. That happens 12 times a day now. And I don't even, like, it doesn't even cross my mind. I actually, like, it's out of my mind before I even think about it. And now the problems are just way bigger and way more stressful. But you know, you have the tools now to work through it, right? So
For sure.
lots of fun.
Yep. So you're not having any problem hiring or attracting good talent. You're not having any problem with the climate in which you live. So what are the biggest challenges you guys are facing right now?
I would say the biggest challenges are implementing proper systems as we grow. You know, when you're operating on that like 1 million, $2 to $2.5 million a year gross revenue, you can kind of just go, I don't want to say by the seat of your pants, but you can kind of just go and use your skill and talent to kind of muscle through whatever you got to do. Once you start punching above that, and it's just a number I found, right? It might be different for every industry, but once you start punching above that and then hiring more people, bringing in more than 4 or 5 people that you can have a conversation with easily all the time, you have to start having systems, processes, documenting things, HR, all this sort of stuff that you start to implement. And learning how to write a simple process and then have everybody follow that process. That's the biggest problem we have now. And because we keep kind of growing, we might implement a system and that system gets broken within 2 months because, you grow out of it, or you don't know what you don't know. And so now you're trying to implement another system. And in, you just talked about the weather. We only have 9, maybe 10 months to work. So we don't work 12 months of the year. We physically can't when winter hits. And so when you're in that chaos of trying to do 12 months of revenue in 9 months and trying to implement new things as you go, even if you have a process to implement it, it's very hard to uptake for the guys. So you have 1 of 2 choices. You either do it and make sure everyone's on board and really push hard, and that's your focus, or you ignore it and push it all the way to the end of the season and then just struggle with all the bullshit for the rest of the year. But that's our biggest hang up right now, is just trying to figure out, as we're growing, how to give the same level of communication and service to our clients, maintain the same level of quality work, because we really strive to produce the absolute best that we can. And then, obviously focus and grow and train and hire and all that sort of stuff too, without having to be in 48 different places all day long.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing.
No, I mean, it's what everybody struggles with in business, pretty much no matter what industry you're in, right? Like there's one thing in the standard operating procedures for how to put in a pool, how to maintain it, right? How to form concrete, right? All the steps that you go through in your builds, which will come to how complicated they are here before we wrap up. But in building those systems is make sure that you kind of crawl, walk, run, what's the simplest thing you can put in today? Maybe it's a Google Sheet, maybe it's a form in HubSpot, or work, using some Microsoft tool, maybe it's a Word doc, maybe it's on paper, right? Like there's a lot of ways to kind of crawl and then to walk, and you have more automations, you have more workflows that you build in, you have more complicated stuff, then you hire some outside party. I mean, when you look at these big companies, dude, I mean, to implement Salesforce is $1 million+, right? Which, we're not doing today. But, when you start to look at these implementations of the software that run your business inside and out, those simple, the software might be whatever, $100,000, but you're going to spend $1 million to implement it into your business. And we just have to keep that context in mind as we build our own systems, right? You're not spending $1 million today, but probably need to spend something. So, and a lot of it's going to be time, right? Time, effort, energy to figure out the steps, break everything down to make it easy. And, we refer to McDonald's all the time, but if you can run that business on teenagers, right? Because the steps are so easy, try to figure out how to run your business on teenagers too, right? Like you talk about summer help and bringing in interns, which also if you treat your employees like your intern, have fun, you do cool things, show them the ropes, how cool would that be for most businesses, right? And so things like that, really have an impact. And that was just kind of the point where you bring up interns, it's been so long since I've had one, but you showed them everything, right? They had such a cool time and kicked ass. Then they're a new hire. It's hey, do this boring shit over here that nobody wants to do, and good luck, man. So, it's just funny how that happens as we hire people. It's yeah, you're full-time now, do the boring shit, right? You're an intern, do all the cool shit. Come on.
Well, it's the holes in the boat theory too, what you're going through, right? When you're doing $1 million a year in total, the holes are so small, you can plug them, right? All the bullshit. But as you start stretching that out and you're hitting 5, 10, 15, 20, 50, wherever you're at, those holes, if you don't take care of them, man, they'll drown you real fast. So it's important what you're doing and focusing on it. It's tedious. It's horrible. I fucking hate it. I hired a director of operations actually to come on to help me get all my shit in order and write those processes and get everyone in line to follow them. Because if we don't, we're going to die in the vine. But it's miserable work to take on. I will be the first to admit it. Like I can't do it myself. I'm just not cut for it.
Yeah, you got to be built for ops.
It's I'm a pool guy. I'm a construction worker. I go and I build these things. I love working with my hands. I didn't ever plan on sitting in front of a computer and typing out processes for how to move somebody from lead to sale to project. Like and I just did all this stuff in my head, right? And now you're trying to do it so that a teenager can digest it and learn. And that's a whole other skill set in itself. And so yeah, that evolution of working in the business and then to working on the business definitely has been very difficult for me. I really love working with my hands. I would love to be inside of a pool every day building things. I love to step back at the end of the day and here's what I did. It's immediately rewarding. A lot of my stuff is sitting in front of a screen now and answering phone calls and emails. But somebody has to do it and drive that company forward. And so obviously it's got to be me. My partner is the ops guy. He's way better at it than I am. Been doing it twice as long as I have. Looks at a problem and just solves it like that and then immediately can implement it. But he's not a process guy either. So both of us are trying to work together on that. He's I couldn't do it without him.
Yeah, hand it to a teenager, it'll get broken real fast,
Yep, absolutely.
So let's talk about some pool stuff, man, because I want to hear some cool stories. And I have a question selfishly so I told you I have a pool. It's an in-ground pool. And we were having a service come out quite a few years ago to empty it or to, drain it down, winterize it. And the kids that came out were like, they could have been my kids. They were like 12 years old, they were running the pump and I wasn't home, but my wife's calling me kind of freaking out because they pumped my pool down to like almost empty. And the owner of the company came out and starts freaking out and swearing and starts telling my wife that if they kept going, that my whole damn pool could actually like lift up out of the ground because of ground pressure or some shit. Is that even moderately true?
What kind of pool do you have? Is it a concrete pool?
Concrete or gunite or something.
Yeah. So yeah, that is 100% true. That's a monolithic shell. You can, even though it's made out of concrete, it's essentially a boat. So you have enough hydrostatic pressure under that, and you'll see that in places like Florida, especially, they had a big hurricane storm this year. A lot of those pools popped out of the ground when that hydrostatic pressure gets too big and too high. It'll pop them. We've seen them lift 3 feet out of the ground on one side. Now there's ways to mitigate that, whether you have drains, there's valves, a hydrostatic valve that you'll put in the bottom of the pool in the drain. If you have one there, that will open up and relieve it to a certain extent.
Okay.
But yeah, if the water gets drained too low and that groundwater's higher pressure, it can definitely pop it out of the ground. As a business owner, I probably wouldn't show up freaking out to the client, telling them like, here's what's going to happen. Because your wife probably didn't sleep for 2 nights.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can definitely happen for sure.
So are you just fucked at that point? Like if this thing pops up out of the ground like a balloon, you're just like break it up and turn it into a sandbox?
You're ripping it out and redoing it. I'm sure there's been people that have tried to reset it. We don't do as many concrete shells up here in Canada. Our main market is steel and vinyl and fiberglass. So like if it was a fiberglass, you could excavate it and reset it. Chances are it's got a little bit more flex than concrete does, but essentially if that, I don't know how many tons that pool will weigh with all the rebar and shotcrete in it, but you're going to be ripping it out and redoing the whole thing. It's going to be a nice insurance claim. That's for sure.
Sweet. Well, it hasn't happened yet. I'm glad they stopped and got the water filling back up.
Yeah, I've been there for sure. Not popping a pool out, but guys have drained it too low. And you know what? It's usually a water truck and a couple $100 and a pretty good lesson. Generally we try not to do that.
Yeah, that's why that owner was freaking out, man. He was worried about redoing the whole pool.
Yeah. Well, he's freaking out to my wife, and then my wife's on the phone with me freaking out, and I'm in my office like, what the hell am I supposed to do if the thing pops out of the ground? Run? I don't know.
Yep, you got insurance. It's going to be used. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, what kind of crazy stories can you tell us that you've seen? Because I got to imagine anything to deal with excavating, right? You uncover an elephant, or you find a cavern, or something weird always happens when you're digging big holes.
You know what? We have not found the most that we usually find is giant rocks, and that sucks. My partner, not well under this company's dug up a car before, but we haven't really excavated too much. Normally, when you're excavating, you get into you plan on excavating 3 or 4 feet, and then you find a bunch of organic material, and then you got to go another 4 feet. But we haven't. We've been pretty lucky in that regard. I
Okay.
think a lot of the stuff that we're building in now is new construction. I don't know whereabouts you guys are, but there's a ton of new construction going on here. So that land's already been excavated, built back up, and packed down. And because of the rules and the laws here, you're not finding too much buried stuff from the home builds anymore. Like guys are not able to do that and are pretty good with it. So we don't have too much to dig up. I wish I could share some wild stories like an old burial ground or something like that, or dinosaur bones or something that made us super rich so that we weren't pool builders anymore, but we haven't found it yet.
Well, if you ever want a story, you can come put in a pool in city of Detroit. You'll be amazed at the shit that comes out of that ground.
Yeah, there's a city underneath that city, I'm sure, that's been buried long ago. Lots of deep, dark secrets for sure.
Yeah, to say the least. Well, cool, man. Hey, Jesse, I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you?
I have a couple of social media channels. My company is at prime.pools on Instagram. We didn't really get too much into it, but I do have a franchise that's at pool.xenia or Xenia, whatever works for you guys. And then my personal one is just at the Jesse Schulz. And I'm just Instagram. I don't do much on Facebook or anything else. You can find me there.
Hey, I'm gonna back up a sec. We don't usually do this, but give us a real quick rundown of your franchise. I forgot about that. That's pretty interesting to me. So did you started it? You're the franchisor?
I'm the franchisor. I have my partner is the official founder, one of my best friends. So we're co-founders on that. And yes, I'd love to talk a little bit about it. We'll take a quick hot minute here. Super fragmented industry. There's not a lot of large companies out there. In the US, there's a few. In Canada, not so much. We realized the market for it. We're traveling all over our province. It's 14 million people. It's the fourth largest pool industry in North America, behind, I believe, Florida, California, and Texas. So we're the fourth largest. We've got a ton of pools here, and it's been a dream of my partners to franchise out for a few years now, and we've been doing it the last 3 years, kind of working on it. Launched it last year, sold one right off the cuff. Amazing franchisee, consider him a friend now. And now we've sold officially 11 more. We're going to have 12 franchisees in operation. They've all been given an extra territory that they can buy into by year 3. They get first right of refusal. So we're about 26 out of 32 territories sold in Ontario. And now we're looking to come down into the US and start spreading the brand down there.
That is fantastic, man.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's a whole other skill set that I like. Again, I'm a pool guy by trade. I'm not a franchisor. I'm learning lots of hard lessons, but it's been super fun. Dealing with an employee is a lot different than dealing with a franchisee, in my opinion, because they have that entrepreneurial spirit. A little bit different. They're a lot more willing. So that kind of onboarding of those people is quite a bit different, but it's been lots of fun. I'm head of training all of them now, so my job this year is going to be a lot of driving and meeting with them and showing them the tricks of the trade. We developed an online virtual platform for training, and we do some in-class stuff too. So it's getting to be lots of fun.
Awesome. Now, cool. As my question on the franchising piece of it, like, what do you end up providing to your franchisees once they sign the paperwork? Is it like how to build pools, like how to operations? Do they need to know how to build a pool like coming into this, or is it how does that work?
So no skills skills, no building skills whatsoever. It's service only. So the motto, kind of unofficial motto, is one guy, one truck, one day. If it can't be done with those three parameters, then it's not kind of our gig. Because we're in the north, we open and close pools for the season, and we do general maintenance, cleaning, stuff like that. What they purchase from us with the franchise fee is their essentially turnkey business. We give them all the systems, how to operate properly. We give them all the training. We've invested quite a bit into a virtual training platform for them, that we're going to keep expanding, obviously, as we grow. And then what we also provide is a call center. So as a franchisee, we do localized marketing. They pay for that, but we do all their sales. We do all their accounts receivable. We do all their scheduling for them. They essentially get up, open their app in the morning. They know where they're going. Now they have say in all this too, right? If they don't want to do a job, they don't have to, or take on a client. But essentially, we do all of that for them. They open up in the morning and they just go execute, do the work. We deal with all the collections, and then we disperse it out to them after.
Cool.
That's a cool model.
That's a lot of back end systems that most people do not understand. So
it's been a lot of work. The idea behind it is we want to take some blue collar guys and girls, and give them the opportunity to make a really good living, and also have that flexibility to be there for their family and friends, and stay in their community. So you're buying a local territory, you're driving end to end, maybe an hour at the absolute most. And I'm not sure if I can legally disclose all of the numbers and stuff. I think I'm not allowed to really say, but I will say in our Barrie location, just in service alone last year, we did over 7 figures with 4 guys, and the margins are pretty high. And so as an owner of that franchise, if you're looking to work by yourself or just one guy, you can make a very respectable living. And you can still have the flexibility to be there for your kids if they have a recital or a baseball game or something like that. And the guys that we have coming through the door buying franchisees are not pool guys. Actually, not a single franchisee we have has ever worked in the industry before. We train them from the ground up, which is what we prefer. We're looking more for the guys that live our core values and want to buy into the culture. We'll provide the training. It's not that hard to service pools. It really isn't. It's more about hospitality than anything. Can you get into a backyard and chat with somebody? Can you make their day? Do they feel safe with you in their space? And if they do, then you're going to be successful. We'll give you the tools and the training to get there. But you have to just be a personable human being and willing to learn.
Well, I can say that you just earned another return trip to the Construction Corner podcast, because what you just described, man, and putting the blue collar badass out there and promoting the trades and giving men and women like a huge opportunity to go and do this sort of stuff is so much of what Dylan and I focus on here. We could do a whole episode just on that. So that I'm jotting your name down, Jesse. We're going to talk again, man.
Matt, I would love to come back on and been even deeper. I appreciate the time you guys have given me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jesse. I mean, it's given people the opportunity that maybe didn't know it existed before, and the option to come into an industry, service, trades, like all of that, and to have the playbook to do it from the get-go we need it, right? You need people to work. So I'm staying at what used to be the Peabody Hotel here in Orlando. It's now like Hyatt Regency or something. But the service here has been like just phenomenal. Like you set a glass down, it's gone in like 2 minutes. I'm just like, they're taking it out of my hand if it's empty, for this conference and stuff. Like it is outrageous, the quality of service here, and it makes such a difference in that, and whether people notice it or not, the level of service, especially going into people's homes and, having those conversations, being somebody that they can talk to, getting the job done, obviously not lifting the pool out of the ground and close it, but, having that ability to, talk to somebody, do a good job, show up on time, all those things.
that sometimes we take for granted, or that we've gotten such bad service. When you see good service and throughout like an entire organization, like, I mean, this hotel is probably, 600-800 rooms. It's massive with a convention center attached to it, and to have that type of service is just impeccable, throughout the entire thing, top to bottom. Like, I have not had bad service anywhere, which is just like crazy to me. As much as I travel and do stuff, to have that throughout like an entire hotel. So yeah, man, like, again, we'd love to have you back. It might be a while, but with our schedule, but we'd love to have you back and to talk about stuff like this, because we need it. Like, I get that I'm in software, but engineers, architects, they're needed just as much as guys in the trades. I mean, top to bottom, we need people that are willing to work, willing to put in a hard day, a long day, and have some fun doing it.
You guys let me know once we're down into your neck of the woods, expanding throughout the US. I'll maybe even come down and sit in the studio with you guys, and we'll share the war stories in
That'd be
person and
awesome,
over a
man.
beer.
That'd be awesome. You can help me close my pool next year.
Done. Absolutely.
Well, Jesse, I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been fun, and like I said, we'll catch base pretty soon here.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. All right, guys. We learned a ton here today. Again, we're going back through core values, doing the right thing by people, being a fun, exciting place to work, having your systems dialed in, having your processes there, having an exciting place for people to work. And, the franchise thing's new for us here. But super exciting that you're able to do that. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of lessons learned that we can share at a future point. But guys, and well, Jesse, again, thank you for coming on and spending some time with us. And then for all of you listening, thank you for listening to us, Matt and I, and coming on here, whether it's our solo rants and wanting the industry to be better, even though it might not always sound like it. We want the construction industry as a whole to be better, to bring everybody up through it. That's why we talk a lot about personal development, but systems, processes. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces and money involved a lot of the time in most all of our projects. So risk is high and reward is also high. But just to know that bringing everybody up around you is going to make your life better. You'll probably feel better doing it. And we just appreciate all of you listening. So with that, until next time.